The one and only Leo Messi and Luis Suarez slice up Sporting Kansas City in Florida. The U.S. women are set to be tested tonight by Japan. And which teams will populate USL's new First Division? That and more here on Wednesday's Morning Kickaround. Hello and welcome to the show. You made it. Good morning. This is Morning Kickaround, where we cover the world's favorite game from the world's favoriteest country, coming to you live each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm Robert Kerr. He's Jason Davis. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're well. What's up, Mr. Davis? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm ready to go. This is going to be a good show. I'm excited to talk about the U.S. women and their challenge tonight. I'm excited to talk about Lionel Messi banging in goals and touching people where they're not supposed to be touched. And what else we got? We got lots of stuff. USL D1. Everybody wants to talk about it. Very fun idea today.
Before we get into the exciting news of our subscription count, what jersey are you wearing? You spend your afternoons on the radio with one Mr. Winalda, but you don't get to talk about your kits. What you got today?
Yeah, so this grab this off the rack. This is Tallahassee, Florida, Tallahassee Soccer Club. So Tallahassee SC, I believe they've joined the League for Clubs. They were not in the League for Clubs when I got this shirt from them. I believe this is an Icarus joint. You can see the Icarus logo as I try to figure out which side of my shirt to touch. Don't know about this. Visit Tallahassee, straight up. But it's a flying lion. How can you beat a flying lion as a soccer badge? There's no ball involved. Like I'm all about this. It's very cool. Thank you to Tallahassee SC for sending me this, I don't know, 5 years ago or something.
Yeah, classic American soccer kit designers are like, that looks good. But is there an NASL soccer ball underneath the flying lion?
Right. Is there a flying ball somewhere? Can the lion be eating the ball or riding the ball or something? None of that. Do you like the two-tone kind of situation here? Sleeves, different color, kind of contrast with the white chest area, torso. What do you think about that, Rob?
I don't mind it. It's a little bit like baseball shirt-ish to have the colored sleeves. They're not shoulder caps with their sleeves. I don't mind it. It's not something that jumps out to me as a major design issue one way or the other, but I got to say that golden yellow mustard color, not my favorite.
Okay. All right. It is gold. It is meant to be gold. So, I don't know if that comes through or not, but yeah, I guess it kind of looks mustardy instead of gold. In person, I think it looks better. I would say that. Maybe it's just the camera and all of that.
The better question is, do you like it?
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I think there's a story that goes with this shirt. It was sent to me right before March of 2020. So it ended up
at that month, right?
It ended up at the studio in DC, the Sirius XM studios, and it sat there in a desk drawer for a year and a half, maybe, because I wasn't able to get to the studio to go pick it up. I wasn't even allowed to go. So finally got my hands on it. Very, very happy to have it. So, yeah.
I have not checked within the last half hour or so, but we are very close here at Morning Kickaround to our next goal of 1,000 subscribers. I think we're in the single digits, so we could well pass 1,000 subscribers as we speak, Jason. And
right.
Viewer, if you haven't done
confetti.
so.
I got my confetti right here at the ready for when we hit 1,000 during the show, Rob. So somebody's going to do it, and then we're going to... No, I actually don't have confetti. I wish I did. That would have been cool.
That'd be sick if you had a button and just two jets of confetti just shot out and splashed.
Be fun to clean up afterwards too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Tiago's for, right? Bust out Fisher Price, my first vacuum cleaner, and vacuuming confetti. Good, good first job.
I've seen these things they sell. I have a Lidl down the road from my house. I don't know if you know what Lidl is, and they sell this thing that's like a cleaning thing that kids can ride. Like it's like a scooter you ride around your house, but it also has a cleaning element to it. So you're entertaining your kid and you're cleaning your floor at the same time.
I like that. That reminds me of that SNL skit where I think it was Tina Fey put like a Swiffer on their kids and just like push their kids around the floor to sweep up their floor while they're crawling around and stuff.
Probably
like that.
Somebody saw that bit and then that skit and then turned it into a product that you can buy for $89.99 at Lidl.
Cutting edge stuff. So back to Morning Kick Around on YouTube. Be the very next to subscribe. You could well be the 1,000th. And then once you do that, have your people do the same thing. That's a great barrier to come across, and that'll help Morning Kick Around become a sustainable and continuously growing show. You can also follow us on the social media, mkickaround on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. The community at Blue Sky is coming together nicely, and more followers each and every day. You can write us a note. We got a very nice one earlier in the week, but write us a note, morningkickaround@gmail.com. If you're looking for potential sponsorships, partnerships, or anything else, please write us a note. And then on the screen right now, ko-fi.com/morningkickaround. And that is there for you if you want to throw us maybe $5 one-time contribution so we can buy a coffee before the show, or maybe become a regular, a scheduled donation to help us grow the show. We got a lot of soccer on the way, so let's get right to it. Here is Wednesday's Long Balls here on Morning Kick Around. Here we go. It's Long Balls here for Wednesday, February 26th. Our headlines here on Morning Kick Around. I'm Robert. He's Jason. And if you stayed up last night watching some footy, you will know that Miami and LAFC advanced in the CONCACAF Champions Cup last night. And it's clear from the results, Messi and Suarez much prefer to play in Florida than a freezing cold Kansas City. And LAFC's, late consolation goal on the road in Colorado last week proved to be very important as a squeak through with a draw, but advance on the away goal.
Yeah, on Miami and playing in Florida, I'm sure they enjoyed that more. Of course, Lionel Messi can score anywhere. It doesn't matter.
He scored both places.
In Kansas City in frigid temperatures. He can score in Miami. I think the hair is maybe part of this. Have you thought about Lionel Messi chose something for this year's first part of the season with his hairstyle. But yeah, I mean, look, I don't know that you should let Lionel Messi receive the ball off his chest and volley it into the goal the way that Sporting did in that situation. Sporting had some chances and they weren't able to convert them. Obviously, you get a Suarez goal off a mistake at the back, and it was 3-0 at halftime, I believe, and I think maybe more remarkable than Messi's goal or Miami winning, which they were heavily favored to do, is the fact that Lionel Messi was substituted in that match. He came off the field before 90 minutes, Robert. I can't remember last time we saw that. He if the man plays, he goes 90. And I guess Javier Mascherano, who is definitely a character to be added to the gallery of coaches in Major League Soccer, he's got a little extra juice when it comes to telling Leo, hey, maybe you don't play 90 minutes tonight if we're up 3-0 at halftime.
Yeah, credit to Messi. Whenever he is available, he plays. I know there was a lot of speculation, he doesn't want to play in the freezing cold last week. He won't do this. No way does, the best player in the world play in a 6-degree game. And what did he do? He played. Then last night, I mean, the game was done and dusted, and we have become accustomed to Messi plays every minute that he wants to, and then last night that kind of changed. Mascherano pulled him off, didn't need him. They took care of business in that first half and almost scored with the very first touch of the second half. That was pretty wild. But Messi and Suarez combined really nicely for that first one. They scored their first 2 goals on the first 2 shots of that game, I believe. And then LAFC in the late game, much tighter affair. But just the 1 goal did it. And LAFC's between last night's performance and the performance in the league play at the weekend, their new players contributing already.
Yeah, Marky Delgado scoring in the Champions Cup game last night. Yeah, I think this was, again, this is the 2 favorites advancing in this competition. Miami heavily favored against Sporting Kansas City. And I don't think that the Rapids are going to be a disaster this year. And they were pretty good last season. And they have some reason to believe that they can maybe take a step forward. Players left that were important last season. So they got to overcome some of that. But, they have some talent. And there's something to be said for what Chris Armas has done in Colorado, but LAFC is a better team. They're flat out a better team, and they are clinical and efficient and ruthless in a lot of ways. I don't know that Olivier Giroud has delivered on anything we thought he might be able to do. I see that Aaron Long came off at halftime in that game. That's something to watch because, any injuries at all, particularly at the back for anybody, can be troubling at the beginning of the season. Again, Delgado, who was kind of the unsung guy in LA Galaxy's championship season last year, he's now an LAFC player, and I think you're going to learn more about how good formerly Marky, I would still like to call him Marky, but I don't think he goes by that anymore. It's either Mark or Marco. I think he's listed as Marco over on FotMob. So whatever he wants to be called, Delgado.
I didn't say it on our kind of weekend review on Monday, but Jeremy Abose playing that Carlos Vela role. I could even picture it, that left-footed swinger curler to the top. I feel like was Carlos Vela's first goal for LAFC? I feel like was something almost, scene for scene, shot for shot that looked the same. So LAFC with some different cast of characters, but we shall see. I do think that Olivier Giroud over time will fit in and find his role. I saw a speculated super sub might be in his future, but so the next round, it comes up quick. LAFC will take on Columbus, their first leg of that on the 3rd of March, which, wild to say, that's like next Wednesday or so. And then Miami will take on Cavalier SC. I had to look them up, but Cavalier SC currently sitting in 4th place in the Jamaican Premiership.
Yeah, so, Messi in Jamaica. Won't that be something? I don't. So I believe Cavalier plays in a. How do we describe it? I think the best analog for an American soccer fan is it is a high school soccer like venue. It's a high school football venue that you might use for soccer, I guess is the way to maybe describe it. It's going to be fascinating to see what the crowd is like. I think they'll probably upgrade their stadium situation. I don't exactly know whether Cavalier intends to play in their normal venue or if they have a bigger stadium. Maybe they'll play at the Office. They are a Kingston team, so that's the national stadium where, of course, when the United States men's national team goes down to play Jamaica, that's where the games happen. So maybe it'll happen at the Office. Lionel Messi goes to the Office in international competition.
It's kind of funny how CONCACAF works. The CONCACAF Champions League would, or CONCACAF Champions Cup rather, the elite of the region, but it kind of still has an FA Cup sort of a vibe where, the giants of MLS could go visit a team that, people have to Google to find what it is, and, possibly very interesting stadium arrangements. So a little quirk of CONCACAF there. Long ball number 2 here for Wednesday morning. United States women's national team are back in action tonight, the final day of the She Believes Cup. They will take on the number 1 seeded in this tournament, Japan. Japan ahead of the U.S. women on goal difference. So the American women, Emma Hayes' squad, will need to get a straight up 3 points tonight if they are going to be first place in She Believes Cup 2025.
Yeah, this is going to be a challenge. Like, let's not pretend that this is a game where the U.S. women should be heavily favored. I think they're going to be in a battle here. Japan has looked really good in this tournament so far. Mina Tanaka has been excellent, contributing to 7 of Japan's 8 goals, 4 goals, 3 assists. She was great against Colombia, so we'll see how the United States women's national team might be able to slow her down. I think, obviously, because this is not a major tournament, right? We talked about this, Rob. I think you asked me where do you put the She Believes Cup between like meaningless friendlies and important games. It is slightly more important than meaningless friendlies, right? And the United States has always won this thing. I mean, it's on home soil. It's run by U.S. Soccer. You invite a couple of teams, and the U.S. women they've always won this trophy. If they lose tonight or draw, which I believe would give Japan the title because of their goal difference, then I think that would be not troubling, but it wouldn't be great. and people will respond accordingly, I think. I mean, probably there'll be some low information fans who will be freaking out. How do we lose Japan on home soil, et cetera, et cetera. I think people in the know will think, okay, well, maybe this is a necessary learning opportunity for a U.S. women's national team that does have some new faces, some younger players. Lily Johannes. Let's see her some more. Again, she's a teenager, but she looks like a star in the making. I'm hoping, and I have no reason to doubt, that Emma Hayes will play Lily Johannes tonight. That is whatever you get from the result, and it will be about the team performance. It always is. It's a team sport. There will certainly be some individual performances that we can zoom in on and go, okay, I'm getting excited for what's coming in 2 years with the group that Emma Hayes currently has.
Yeah, Lily Johannes, can't wait to see more of her. Hopefully she gets, if not the start, a good amount of time. And then we also want to see more Katarina Macario. I imagine some folks are going to be turning into her. And then kind of the breakout star, at least in my mind, folks who watched NWSL last year more than I did might have something to say. But Ali Sentnor, want to see more of her. She's had a banger. She had a great assist in the second game. It would be great to see if she can, go game on game for 3 in a row with impressive performances. So be interesting to see. So those are kind of the players that I'm specifically excited to see. Who would you think that, or in your mind, you're a viewer, who would you want to see tonight?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's Lily Johannes. I'm going to just keep coming back to it. That's what I'm hoping to see, is her get an opportunity to kind of run that midfield. The attack has always been a strength for U.S. women's national team, and it's kind of been this, you roll in a new attacking player every couple of years or every year, and we kind of get excited, and then are we good at that spot now? It has been interesting because you don't have, triple espresso. None of those players are there. And those are the players I think people kind of, they think about as the established attacking group for the U.S. women's national team. Trinity Rodman, Sophia Smith, Mallory Pugh. Those players are all going to have a role to play over the next 2 years. None of them are going to disappear. Certainly Trinity Rodman, Sophia Smith, young enough to be major factors. Mallory Pugh, I think she's mid-20s at this point. So those players will still be there. So I guess what we're talking about, and you mentioned Ali Sentnor, is this thing about, okay, who's coming through that will maybe push that group, maybe create some competition for spots. I should also mention there's another teenager in the team, she just turned 20 years old, Alyssa Thompson, who is an Angel City player who burst on the scene as a very young player. So we're seeing a very young group of players in some spots, and that is refreshing and I think representative of the progress that women's soccer is making in terms of development. Now, I always wonder about the knock-on effect and sort of like professionalizing young players. Is that always good, especially for those who don't make it? But in the cases of the ones that do, like Lily Johannes, who went to Ajax as a young player, and Alyssa Thompson, who entered NWSL as a teenager, this is indicating that we're getting started earlier with these players playing at a high level, which is sort of necessary to keep up with what Europe is doing these days.
There is one player and one issue that kind of is lingering, probably one of the only player selection issues that I've seen women's national team observers kind of have issue with, and you've mentioned it in passing a couple times when we talked about this tournament. But midfielder for PSG, Corbin Albert, she's getting her picks. That she has what do you call it? Detractors out there for both on and off the field. Who would you rather see in that midfield spot?
No. I don't. No, I'm not doing that. Again, I'm Corbin Albert is a player Emma Hayes clearly likes. We had a comment after we did our video on the last U.S. Women's National Team win over Australia and said, Corbin Albert playing at PSG, probably playing at a higher level than NWSL players. I don't know that I believe that. I'm not sure that that's how I would view this situation right now. She's been fine in this tournament. Like, has she been sort of next level and, it's impossible to see her come out of this team? No, I don't think so. I like Sam Coffey a lot. I'd be fine seeing her in the lineup again. You mentioned Macario. So Oh, Johannes, Coffee, Macario. Macario, obviously an attack-minded player playing in midfield, going to have to be a two-way player, but going to give you a lot going forward. Those are the players that I'm most focused on here. But Corbin Albert seems to have a role, and again, Emma Hayes is trying to build towards 2027.
Yeah, 2027, still a long way out. We'll see how the women's national team develops. Long ball number 3 here on Wednesday, February 26th. The news came in yesterday. Leo Messi and Luis Suarez fined for their behavior at the weekend. The Inter Miami game versus NYCFC, match 1 of the season in Major League Soccer. The two superstars, the biggest stars in the league, and certainly for Inter Miami, got a little too handsy. Both separate situations, both players getting fined for inappropriate contact with their opponents.
Yeah, it's not exactly bad touch. That has a connotation that we don't want to bring into this, but it's illegal, I guess.
But no, is anyone getting fined for a good touch?
Yeah, well, I guess that's true. Obviously in this situation, we're talking about the most famous player on the planet. Did he feel entitled to putting hands on somebody that he shouldn't have put hands on? If you look at the photos, if you go back and watch it, it's a hand on the back of a neck, right? It's not a choking situation. I'm not even sure it's aggressive. I don't know if it's like, hey, buddy. Like, I don't know if it's like that. I think there is a little bit more animosity there, but it is certainly funny, because there was this immediate response. Right, it's the first game of the season. There's an immediate response where people will go, "Oh, well, Lionel Messi, he's going to get away with that." And in fact, I saw an opinion piece. I don't remember who wrote it, but an opinion piece like Lionel Messi needs to be fined by Major League Soccer for his actions in that after the aftermath of NYCFC. And I was like, all right. I mean, I guess we're going to get worked up about this. It's not like it's the biggest issue on the planet, but you do want the rules to be applied equally. You want them to be, if it's Lionel Messi or a guy coming off the bench who makes, $80K a year, you want it to be, the rules to be applied equally. Now, here's where we get into the sticky part of this. Lionel Messi was fined an undisclosed amount. Major League Soccer did not publicize how much he was fined. This man, I don't know what his income is in total through various streams, right? He gets a salary from Miami. He's got promotional money coming in. He's got investments. He's got all kinds of stuff. He's Lionel Messi, right? He's incredibly wealthy based on the career that he's had. What is the pain point for Lionel Messi?
You'd think that the actual punishment would be like a suspension. Like, it's going to hurt him more to lose playing time. It's going to hurt the team more to lose playing time. But and money, that's got to be a pretty big fine to hit that pain point. Like, what is an actual dent? What is an actual dent in the pocketbook there? Let's
just say this flat out: they did not hit Lionel Messi's pain point with this fine. There is zero chance, because that is an astronomical number. Like, I was thinking, like, would $1 million bother Lionel Messi if he was fined? If he was fined $1 million, would it bother him? I don't think it would. I really don't. I don't think
that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. But if Lionel Messi had to clock a check to Major League Soccer for $1 million, that then went into some coffers for spreading the game or paying for a youth program somewhere, if this was effective, because that's usually what these fines go for. They end up with charity, right? There's a mechanism to have fines go into a pot for charity. If Lionel Messi did that, I don't think it would bother him. I mean, the charity part would kind of assuage any of the upset over this. I do think you're right. I do think a suspension would have been much more impactful if you're trying to punish him and prevent further behavior like this. And John is saying it here in our chat. Messi and co don't like it when teams get in their face. He does this stuff more than people think. And I do want to make this point, Ron.
Yeah.
Lionel Messi may be a quiet guy most of the time. He may not be overly public. He may not be out there. He may not be Cristiano Ronaldo posting a picture on Instagram of his abs every day. But Lionel
Messi in ways. He has his ways of speaking.
Lionel Messi is a bastard, okay? Now, I say that with respect. Like, I say it with not love exactly, but I say it recognizing that sometimes it's okay to be a bastard when you are competing, right? The competitiveness is something I admire. As somebody who is probably overly competitive and has been in my life, I got thrown out of a little league baseball game for being overly competitive. I see it in my son, the 4-year-old. I'm wondering if it's going to be a problem, how competitive he is. I can vibe with the competitiveness, so it's not out of disrespect. But Lionel Messi is not some church choir boy. Like he has an attitude about him, and I don't even know if it's entitlement so much as it's just that's who he is when he steps between the lines.
You were talking about how, what he actually got fined for, putting his hand on the back of the neck of the opponent assistant coach. And while you said it wasn't an overly aggressive thing, when I watched that, it was almost like borderline mafioso. Like, it would be in your best interest to not do that again. Like, that thing you did, that might not work well for you if you continue that sort of behavior, and kind of had those very subtle digs. Like, I might not be the one that comes for you, but something bad might happen to you if you continue to call that foul or say those things to me or my team. That was at the final whistle. The Suarez thing was with a player, Burke Risa, right at the cusp of halftime.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could identify. If we're going to go with this analogy, Luis Suarez is the consigliere. Is that he's the underboss? Maybe he's the underboss. Maybe Sergio Busquets is the consigliere. And it kind of works because Lionel Messi, in this case, making veiled threats or perhaps making threats, or certainly using physical contact to express a certain threat. Last week, the issue was he was handing out favors, which was giving the jersey to the referee after the Sporting Kansas City, after the first leg of this of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Which, of course, the referee in that situation got punished with a 6-month ban from CONCACAF competition. He is still refereeing in Liga MX, so he didn't get banned from all games, just from CONCACAF. And meanwhile, Messi's not getting. No one's coming down on Messi for giving the referee a jersey, even though probably we should be saying, "Hey, Leo, what are you doing?" Like, you should say no to you. You're allowed to say no when the referee says, "Hey, can I get a shirt?" Hey, you're allowed to say no.
Yeah, interject, be like, "Hey, that might not look good for either of us if we do that. Why don't let's take a picture together and move on."
Yeah, well, even that though,
maybe a little dicey.
The referee is absolutely in the wrong, right? The referee is absolutely should not be asking for anything, any favors, any gifts, even a photo, right? Rob, you've covered soccer matches before. Mm-hmm. I've covered professional sporting events. What does it say right there on that credential that they give you? You can't go ask for anything. No autographs, no photos. You're not supposed to do that. That's out of bounds for a journalist, not much less the referee. But at the same time, Messi's complicit in this. He knows he's not going to get in trouble for that. Or maybe if he does, maybe he doesn't even think about it. But hey, look, why not? Why would you? Why would you not hand out a little bit of a favor? And maybe down the line it pays you back. It's an investment.
Well, we're learning that just across the board that things that get regular people to get fired or fined or lose their job doesn't necessarily translate to the top of whatever vocation you're at. Those certain rules, like something like, hey, I have a felony, I can't get a job at McDonald's, but maybe I could become, the leader of the free world. Like, those sort of rules are getting a little muddled right now. But one little small tangent about being complicit in bad behavior. Do you think that Messi, taking pictures with the kids that run onto the field, is that becoming problematic? Because, I know he has a bodyguard and people run on, but like if they actually get to him, he's like pretty cordial with them. Same with Ronaldo.
Yeah, I mean, look, kids are criticizing Messi for taking a picture with a kid, I would never do that. I mean, the kid's running on the field, they shouldn't be doing that. That's obviously different. The bodyguard is there because there's always a threat. It could be a Monica Seles kind of thing. Let's just hope that never happens. People remember that? Is that a thing that got memory hold? People remember Monica Seles?
I certainly remember that was crazy. I was like between 5 and 10 years old, and that was a very early sports memory. And it almost seems like I think people memory hold it because it was such a jarring, graphic, raw thing for someone to just run onto the tennis court and do that, and in such a cordial, polite sport. It wasn't like the middle of some South American soccer game and someone, jumped the 20-foot fence and got onto the field and attacked a player. Wasn't that Wimbledon? Or was that U.S. Open? It was one of the big tournaments, wasn't it?
No, it was in Germany. It was a tournament in Germany. The Citizen Cup in Hamburg is what I'm seeing here. So it wasn't a big tournament, but
big player,
yeah.
center court.
Big player. Yeah, big player. She won the French Open 3 years in a row. She won the U.S. Open, the Australian Open multiple times. I mean, she was one of the best tennis players in the world, no doubt. And yeah, that was scary. Let's hope that's the thing. We're not hoping for any of those things.
Yeah. Hopefully that is not a thing we ever have to deal with or talk about in the future. But that's our long balls. Thanks for tuning in for those. If you haven't already, I don't know. I haven't looked at the subscriber count. I don't know. We're on the 1,000 subscriber watch right now, and you could be the 1,000 subscriber if you go to YouTube. Or you're a party there. Morning Kicker on YouTube.com. Hit the subscribe. 5 to go.
5 to go.
We teased it a little bit. What did you think of those Jeopardy graphics I sent over?
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that. You and I will get together on Soccer Jeopardy being a thing, maybe.
Maybe that's the reward for 1,000 subscribers. We'll see. Follow us along on social media at MKickaround on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Write us a note, morningkickaround@gmail.com, or help us out with a little bit of cash. Ko-fi.com/morningkickaround. One-time donation of whatever amount you'd like, or you could schedule a regularly reoccurring donation. Thank you for anything that you can help us out with. We're going to catch our breath, come right back in just a moment. We're going to talk about Ballon D'Ors and Culture Wars here on Morning Kick Around. Just one sec. Welcome in, Culture Wars here on Morning Kick Around, and a lot of these have been American-centric, but we're going to broaden the borders, of course, bring it back to us. But an interesting conversation this week has been regarding Mo Salah. He's been on an incredible run of form. He's been arguably one of the best players for the last, 5 to 10 years, but his season now is, becoming unparalleled. So the conversation is kind of become like, what can he do to break through and become a finalist at the very least and go towards winning?
Let me ask, is it for you? I mean, you're a Liverpool fan, so you are biased. Let's make sure that that's clear. But is Mo Salah number one on your candidate list for the Ballon d'Or right now, for the next Ballon d'Or?
Yeah, I think he should be a finalist at the very least.
No. Is he number one on your list for the Ballon d'Or for the next one right now, in this moment? We don't know what's going to happen between now and the Ballon d'Or voting, but right now, is Mo Salah number one on your list?
Right now, Mo Salah is number one on my list.
He's
Top
number
player
one
in the
on my
world
list.
in the positions that typically get awarded things.
He's number one on my list. I don't think it's really hard to get yourself to a place of thinking there's somebody else who is at his level right now. I mean, this season. But here's where the controversy comes in. So Jamie Carragher went on Sky Sports. Jamie Carragher, he's got like 8 TV jobs or something. The man's everywhere.
He's getting all the jobs.
A little bit less Jamie Carragher would be nice. This is what he said, apparently, on Sky Sports. I think the problem is the fact that he's with Egypt. He's probably not playing in the major tournament or such, or maybe not getting a great chance of winning. I think it's either the Champions League or a major tournament that wins the Ballon d'Or. So essentially this is, okay, Mo Salah has to win the Champions League in order to win the Ballon d'Or. Carragher's co-panelist Michael Richards, again, lots of these guys together, interjected and said, I'll just say AFCON is a major tournament. A lot of people at home will say they're taking that seriously. AFCON is a major tournament, just so you know. All right? Now, Jamie made a face in the moment that Michael Richards said this, and people took it as a dismissive face, like, oh, yeah, whatever, the AFCON, okay. So this created a situation where people are clapping back at Jamie Carragher, including Rio Ferdinand. So this is Rio Ferdinand. That comment is representative of the majority of people out there, what Jamie said about AFCON. The majority of people out there would say that. I don't think that's right. I think it's an ignorant thought process because AFCON, if you go to Didier Drogba, Edebi Pele, Samuel Eto'o, Riyad Mahrez, you list these players, Mo Salah, Sadio Mane, they will tell you we have to win this, meaning it's very important to African players to win the African Cup of Nations. I understand what Jamie is saying, but I don't agree with it. But I understand it's the majority's fault, and it's not right. Now, there was further discussion, Jamie Carragher trying to clarify, whatever. Okay. And I think Rio maybe even went in harder. There's been some social media stuff. I'm kind of interested in this because I do think this framing, first of all, Jamie Carragher is very representative of an English mentality about the game, which is if it doesn't happen in Europe, it doesn't matter. Right? That is flat out the attitude that Jamie Carragher and a lot of people like him carry. Now, their defense of that attitude would be, well, that's where the best soccer is played. And the best football is played in Europe. It's either club football with the Champions League and the best leagues in the world, the top 5 leagues in the world are all in Europe. Or it's, in terms of the club game and in the international game, the European Championship. It's got this depth. It's there might even be some people would say the European Championship is better than the World Cup. But I think that's the wrong way to think about these tournaments in terms of pure quality. Now, obviously, I cannot account for the fact that lots of Ballon d'Or voters are going to factor in something like, are you playing high-quality football, right? If you go and score 60 goals in the Indonesian league, you're not winning the Ballon d'Or. No one's paying attention to that. That votes on the Ballon d'Or. But Mo Salah plays for one of the biggest clubs in the world, a team that is on their way potentially to winning a Premier League title. He's got a chance at winning a Champions League. He's having a historic season. And you're saying that he can't win a Ballon d'Or because he happens to be Egyptian? And that AFCON doesn't matter? When you say, okay, well, AFCON, it doesn't have Germany, and it doesn't have France, it doesn't have Italy, it doesn't have these traditional soccer powers. As if the competition is any less important because of that to Egyptians or Algerians or Ivorians or Nigerians. I mean, it's not, right? It's clearly not. And again, this attitude is so pervasive. I saw this post on Blue Sky from Michael Cox. People know Michael Cox, zonal marking. Let's be honest. In the which of the continental tournaments are valuable in comparison to each other debate, the wrongly rated one is Copa America. Routinely a dreadful tournament, such poor quality, tough to place too much focus on a Brazilian Argentine winning it. Obviously a huge deal for others. I mean, good Lord, if we only cared about sort of the quality of play, which is subjective to begin with, let's just say that. The quality of play argument is subjective. Now, in terms of what do you even mean when you say that? Everybody's got a slightly different interpretation of what quality means, right? It's eye of the beholder stuff. Like that's fair. We may all agree that European football is the best, Robert, or the European Championship is a deep international tournament, or the Champions League represents the pinnacle of the game in terms of the quality of the players on the field. We all agree on that, but it doesn't mean necessarily we're all looking at the game through the same lens when we think about what quality is. Is quality the number of goals? Is quality the level of defending? Is quality the number of passes it takes to score a goal? Is quality just the pure technical ability of any given player on the field at any given time? Maybe it's all of those things.
Yeah, I think it's all those things.
And what pisses me off about this, what Michael Cox said, Copa America, it's wrongly rated. People overvalue it. What are you talking about? Now, the European Champions is great. I love it. But in terms of intensity of competition, which is what this is supposed to be about, right? We're doing international competitions to determine champions of regions because we want to test our nation against another nation. Nobody goes harder than CONMEBOL. Nobody goes harder than CONMEBOL. You want to bitch about, there's a foul every 5 minutes, the referees get intimidated, there's too much violence, essentially, is what you're saying. It's a too violent a version of the game. I mean, that is, again, a subjective judgment of what you think about when you think about good soccer. Maybe you want free-flowing whatever. Maybe you want Barcelona against Real Madrid. Maybe you want Liverpool on the counter. And maybe to you, that's quality football. Maybe, again, it's purely about whether your center back can complete a pass and break lines. Sure. But if we're talking about just as a viewer, as a spectator, what I get entertained by, I'm going to be entertained by a knockdown, drag-out 1-1 between Argentina and Uruguay or Chile or whoever when there's 25 fouls on each side and 6 yellow cards and somebody gets sent off and the drama level is at 11. Why would I dismiss that as a why would they dismiss that as as something to fold into someone's resume when we talk about what a player accomplishes and whether they deserve to be recognized as the best player in the world.
I think, yeah, all those, things need to be in question. I mean, obviously, sometimes the Ballon d'Or seems to boil down to popularity contests and whatnot. But if you're trying to truly evaluate the best player in the world, you have to take into account all of the things that you just listed. Last summer, when we had the Euros during the day and in the Copa America at night, I thought that was a pretty entertaining juxtaposition of, the fact that the styles at different places of the world still exist. It didn't become one homogenized game. The European Championship did not look like the Copa America, and I liked it. While, yes, there was more violence, there was more fouls, maybe not as much time of the ball in play, but what was the ratio of fans in ventilation ducts in comparing the two different tournaments? I mean, the passion was unrivaled.
For sure. Right. And so, again, I come back to this thing about people like Michael Cox or Jamie Carragher in the situation going, oh, you can't put much into an Argentine or a Brazilian winning the Copa America. We talk about the Ballon d'Or, right? He's basically saying, like, we're overrating the importance of winning that tournament for a South American when we consider that South American for the Ballon d'Or. Right, so I mean, there was this argument that if Vini Jr. had won Copa America, he would have won the Ballon d'Or. He wouldn't have been beaten out to it by Rodri, who won not only a Premier League title, but a European Championship with Spain. And I guess Michael's rejecting that notion because the quality of the Copa America is not the same as the quality of the European Championship. Therefore, you're overrating it if it matters to you whether Vini Jr. won it. But that, again, misses the competitive level, not the quality level, the competitive level, the intensity of the tournament. And I know people don't like this, and it's not something it's difficult to measure, right? If you measure it by fouls per minute, as Nate is saying, quality is the number of fouls per 10 seconds, which is the problem with Copa America. If you don't like that, you don't like that. That's fine. I'm not judging you for not liking that. But you cannot tell me that Copa America is not an intensely competitive tournament and it's not difficult to win it. It's difficult to win it. It took Messi forever to win a Copa America because it is difficult to win it. So if that, yes, we are individually judging these players when it comes to the Ballon d'Or. But if an individual helps his team win an incredibly competitive tournament, regardless of whether that tournament is the highest level of the game or not, that should be very important to what we consider about his resume. Now, Mo Salah, again, it comes back to Mo Salah.
That's
right. Does he need to win AFCON to win a Ballon d'Or? I mean, yeah, I don't know. It sucks. What I'm saying is it sucks that the only way for an African player, and this one day will become an issue if the United States or Mexico starts producing players at that level. And who knows if that'll ever happen. But let's imagine a world in which there is an American or a Mexican player, right? I don't know, Canadian, maybe Alphonso Davies level kind of attacking player comes out of Canada, and they have an incredible year in the club game in Europe, playing for a top club. They win a domestic title, maybe they win a Champions League. But is it going to be, playing CONCACAF? Who cares about the Gold Cup? That doesn't mean anything. So they lose out to somebody who has maybe not quite as good a domestic season. And I know it's difficult to sort of judge apples to apples sometimes, but somebody who doesn't quite have the same domestic season, they lose out to that player because that player was in a European Championship. Or, again, whatever Michael Cox says, a Copa America, which a North American cannot play in. Is that the way it's going to be? An African is handicapped. A North American is handicapped. An Oceanian is handicapped. That will just always... An Asian is handicapped. Where does the AFC champion... where does the Asian Championship rate? Japanese players... I mean, what happens then? You never can win it. You have to be essentially either European or South American.
Yeah, the last time there was a non-European or South American who won it, George Weah in 1995, Liberian, president of Liberia. His son obviously plays for the United States. And the last player from Liverpool to win Ballon d'Or, 2001, Michael Owen.
Owen. Wow, that's a throwback.
So there's a lot of, if Salah did go on to win Ballon d'Or, he would be, that would be, change, one for the record books. Lewandowski probably has an outside shout. He's doing well. And he also got robbed in 2020. But going back to the point of, it would be big it would be kind of, I don't know if earth shattering, but he'd be breaking a lot of these handicap walls if he was to be an African player, the first one in over 20, 30 years to win the award, first one from Liverpool in, 25 years. But to your point, he has a better chance than someone from North America or Asia. Like last question on this, like what would Christian Pulisic have to achieve in order to be in that question?
He can't. I
It's
mean,
impossible.
No,
we
yeah,
need to
I
win the
think it's
World Cup,
impossible.
win Serie A, and win the Champions
Yeah.
League.
The only way, obviously, for a player outside of Europe or South America to win this award is to win a World Cup. I mean, obviously, that's a timing issue, right? Like, I mean, I guess if you won the World Cup 3 years before you had an incredible season, your reputation would be big enough. Now, obviously, no team outside of Europe or South America has ever won a World Cup, so that's pushing up against history. But yeah, Christian Pulisic would have to outscore the top goal scorer in Europe by 10 goals in order to be even in the conversation for a Ballon d'Or. That's look, if he was doing it obviously in the Premier League for a Premier League champion, it would be much easier because of the media attention that is given to players in that league who are playing for the best clubs. So it could be a Mo Salah kind of thing, but he would have to overperform anybody else who might be up for a Ballon d'Or. It wouldn't just be good enough to be sort of among the elite. He would have to be better than them.
Another note for a possible Salah Ballon d'Or win, bucking the trend of history. And you said there's a lot of attention on the English league. There hasn't been a player win the Ballon d'Or from an English team since 2008, Cristiano Ronaldo. So that's just the I mean, prior to Rodri.
Okay. The gap between Rodri and the last one was Ronaldo when he was at United in 2008.
15-year gap. So, I mean, it's not like, the publicity you're saying, everyone sees what happens in the Premier League, but that doesn't necessarily, cash the ticket for that award.
Well, that's true. I guess that's true. Yeah, I mean, circumstantially, you talked about how many European champions come out of England during that period? 5 or 6 at least. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's some factors there. I mean, it's obviously a different world now than it was during the height of the Messi-Ronaldo battle. Like, it was always a guarantee that one of those players, or it felt like that. When Luka Modric won his, we all went, "Oh wow, what's going on here?"
Yeah.
But of course, he was playing for the most famous team in the world, winning things.
Yeah.
Right, and I believe
and Croatia
he took his team to a final of a World Cup. Right, that's what you would need to. And obviously, he's European, so he's playing in European championships and World Cups. So, I'm not, let's get to that. Let's cross that bridge when we get to it in terms of a North American having a chance. I feel for Mo Salah, though. And I think what Jamie Carragher may be correct in the perceptions, as Rio pointed out, but it's wrong in how we think about this. And I think, again, this snobbery over only European soccer is good soccer has got to go.
All right, we got to test this. Christian Pulisic, you got to get a transfer to Real Madrid. You got to be their Golden Boot winner and win every single competition you're in, and we'll truly test this theory. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, subscribe. Morning Kick Around on YouTube. We are inching our way to the 1,000 subscriber mark, so maybe if you go there now, hit the button, you might be the very next. You might be the 1,000th subscriber to this channel. Hit us up on social media at mkickaround on X, Instagram, Blue Sky. Email morningkickaround@gmail.com. Or if you'd like to donate to the show, ko-fi.com/morningkickaround. One-time donation, or make something regular occurring style treat. All right, we're going to come right back in just 1 minute. Talk about USL Division 1 in our big question here on Wednesday. Morning Kick Around. Big question here on Morning Kick Around for Wednesday, February 26th, with the USL Division 1 news and kind of everyone getting excited and the whole thought process bubbling of what would the USL Division 1 look like, or USL Premier as it might be called. What would that look like when it happens? It's supposed to come about in 26 or 27. And we thought, wanting to play a little bit of experiment. What teams that exists now or maybe in the near future would we like to see populate this new USL division? There's a few that seem like shoo-ins, but I think it's open for debate. Who would be in that first 12 teams to make USL premiere?
Yeah, so I went over to USL Pro, which is the subreddit for USL fans on Reddit, and I'm borrowing this from ya boy 5547. So credit to ya boy 5547 for his service. Thank you very much, sir. This is a good map. Not only does it include actual existing USL teams, it's got potential teams, some expansion stuff. Now, there's some stuff in here that I'm a little behind on. Like we're moving quick. We got teams coming out of everywhere. Like there's a team in Alabama. I was like, it didn't Dothan. Dothan's got a team. What's going on there? I've been to Dothan. Just to let you know.
What's doing in Dothan?
I don't know what's doing in Dothan. Okay, so we're going to pick out the clubs we think. Now, remember here for PLS, and we're going to use PLS guidelines in the big picture. I don't think we're going to drill down on stadiums here, Rob. And I guess we do kind of have to worry about million population in terms of the area, the metro. But I think we'll probably be able to get there just by falling backwards into it. What we do have to keep in mind is that you have to have 12 teams to start. You got to have 14 teams by year 3. So we'll start with the 12. We'll just do the 12.
Yeah.
And we have to check off 3 time zones. And we were talking about this. Where the time zones are is part of the story here. I think we have a general sense of where these things are. I know I'm in the East. You're in the East. You're up there in Michigan. A little bit further to the west is Central. And then, of course, we know the mountain states and then the Pacific states. So, all right. So what's the most obvious? Who's the most obvious team here jump straight in?
The one that smacks me in the face of someone who they've earned it. They've won the second division multiple times. They got the big stadium. They, from the outside, seem to be an incredibly professionally run organization. The first one that jumps out to me is Louisville.
All right. So Louisville straight in. I agree with you. Now, there's, just because, even though we're not going to drill down on it too specifically, should be mentioned that while Lynn Family Stadium is not big enough right now to meet the 15,000 capacity threshold, it is expandable. So if there was a D1 and they got this off the ground and they needed their stadiums to be 15,000, Louisville could expand and check that box. So that's one of a dozen. And I think you're right. I think that is probably the number one candidate to go in to the league. Now, I'm going to propose, and it's not just because I'm biased by the place of my birth, grew up there for a whole 2 months, Sacramento Republic. I think they got to go straight in, right? A pretty big metropolitan area, pretty big city by USL standards, and stadium is coming, but I think they're going to get there.
Yeah, they're an interesting one. They found some success. They went to the U.S. Open Cup semifinal, and to your point, they've got a little bit of history behind them. They are run in a professional manner. They had MLS aspirations, so clearly they've always had that first division on their mind. With the stadium on its way, they seem like they would be interested in that first division.
Yeah. Okay. So we got 2, and I believe that means we check off two time zones. So we're already good. We're getting there on time zones. All right, number 3, Rob. Propose me a team. Give me one.
I like filling in the time zone, so I'm gonna go with Phoenix Rising.
Okay.
They are maybe not necessarily, I don't know what their financial ownership situation is, but they are definitely aspirational. They've gotten in some exciting players in the past. They've had success, and they seem like a team from out here, from outsider perspective. They seem like a team that is ambitious and is hungry to do more than they are now.
Okay, that I agree with that. I've had some interesting conversations with people who've been attached to Phoenix Rising over the years. It's been a little while since I've seen anybody or had those conversations, but I will say, they were aiming for MLS eventually, and I don't know if they were ever maybe kind of blocked off of MLS by some other things happening in terms of MLS expansion. But eventually they went like, okay, you know what? We don't need this. We can control things if we're in the USL that we can't control for in Major League Soccer. So I agree with that one. They've done some stadium. They've been pretty flexible with their stadium situations over the years that they've been trying to grow, find the right place. So I could see that. And obviously, that's the biggest city without an MLS team. Mm-hmm. So they'd be great for the USL to have a major market there in Phoenix. All right. So, and by the way, in the chat, you guys want to throw out some suggestions? We will consider them. Urias is giving us both the Oakland Roots and the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, and I will come back to those. I don't think those are off the top obvious candidates for me yet, or at least they wouldn't be if I was doing this priority wise. Ranking them, I don't think I would have either one of those teams in there yet. Now, I believe this could be a stadium issue, but again, maybe we cross that bridge when we get there. I'm going to go Tampa Bay Rowdies and throw an Eastern team into the mix here, Rob. Do you agree the Rowdies feel like a D1 kind of club?
Yes, they were one of the first teams that came to mind. Pretty rich history, at least with the name attached to them. They have an established fan base. They seem to, more often than not, have one of the best squads in the league. You mentioned stadium. I know that they have one of the nicest views from a stadium and probably in North America, looking out over the water there. You mentioned Stadia. They get a good crowd there. Are you saying that because it's a converted baseball stadium, they might be looking elsewhere, or what did you mean by that?
Yeah, I don't think it's big enough. So, and I don't know how much bigger Al Lang Stadium can get. So it is again, this is one of those things like how many waivers will USL need to get their Division I off the ground? Because while Tampa is a big market and you would love to have them involved from the get-go, they may not be able to check the stadium box right away.
Another team that I'd throw out there, and I know one of our regular viewers, Harry, is a big fan, but he might actually push back on this because he said that they go back and forth between how much they want to spend. But San Antonio, they are connected to San Antonio Spurs, or at least they were. They are one of the bigger spenders in the championship. So I don't know if it's a 100% guarantee, but I think of the clubs that might be interested in this, I'd say San Antonio.
Okay, so this is what I got so far: Louisville, Phoenix, Sacramento, Tampa, San Antonio. So we've got 5. We still got 7 open spots for our D1. Now let's just take stock here because we don't want to lose the thread on this. I know we're going to go a little long today. We've got a team out west. We've got a team in the Mountain Time Zone. We got a team in Louisville in the eastern part of the country, Midwest, but eastern part of the country. Obviously, Tampa, San Antonio, obviously dead center of the country in the Central Time Zone. So time zone's no problem. We do. There is a little bit of geographical things happening. Probably this is a single table situation. I don't think we need to be worrying about conferences with 12 teams, right? You don't need 6-team conferences. So we can just go straight out. Now that our time zones are done, and again, how many 75% have to be million plus? I'm not sure where we got 1, 2, 3, probably 4 at least right now. I don't think Louisville's a million plus. I'd have to check, but definitely San Antonio, Tampa, Sacramento, Phoenix feel like million plus metros.
I might be a bad commissioner because I'd be writing waivers left and right on this stuff.
Well, what bad U.S. soccer president? Is that what you're saying?
You look good. You're in.
Okay. All right. Louisville's 1+ million says one of the comments. So in terms of that, maybe we're good. Maybe, okay.
I think Brooks is onto something in the chat. Throwing out there, it's also a Central Time Zone team, Indy 11. They have, they've been kind of one of the leaders as far as wanting to be professionalized, and they have stadium in the mix. And I know there's a little bit of weirdness with possibly MLS encroaching in on there, but as far as Indy 11 in isolation, I feel like would be a team that would benefit or would be a good addition to the top division in the USL.
Yeah, I mean, they've shown some ambition. I mean, the stadium thing has always made it a little bit dicey. I'm going to do this. I mean, I know that, again, stadium is an issue here, but I feel like I really believe that at this point, Detroit's got to be in this, right? Detroit City, just based on the club that they've been, what they've grown there, what they've built, how sort of famous they are for who they are. I think Detroit City's got to be in this league. Am I wrong?
I think you're right there. And there's a great room for or great points for them to be in it. Obviously, they're one of the highest crowds, average crowds. They are famous. They are very ambitious. At least as they are right now, they are very threadbare. I think that they've put on the professional veneer, but are still at the heart,
Okay.
still a
All
community
right.
team. And I think that maybe if the buy-in to the league is a lot, they might be scared away. Perhaps that changes, once they have their own stadium, and things might change. Like the DCFC might be a very different club in the next 5 years.
All
So
right.
I could see there's an argument for it, but it might be a bridge too far if the spending goes up.
Are you vetoing Detroit for the initial? I can take them off. I can take them off.
They're not an immediate in for me, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, you're closer to Detroit than I am, so I will give you that. Okay. So no Detroit. We take them off the board. In that case, as I'm working through here, I'm not sure there's a lot of obvious candidates at this point. So out west, Vegas plays in a baseball stadium, but that's obviously a big market. You got Oakland. That's a big market as well. They're going to be able to meet this if they play in the Oakland Coliseum, obviously. They've done some things. That's a community club. I don't know that they have the spending power that I kind of think of just straight up jumping in. I mean, at one point they were amateur, they go pro. Now they're following sort of a Detroit City FC model. But do you think that Oakland needs to be in just on the strength of the market?
They would be a good market. They seem to be making some deals. I think, are they moving into a formerly are they moving into the Oakland baseball stadium?
They're going to play in the Coliseum, I believe, for the time being. They want to build their own place, but for the time being, they're going to be in the Oakland Coliseum.
Okay, so there's a large capacity there. They've definitely got their marketing down. Everyone really likes their jerseys. They're aspirational. So can we put Detroit and Oakland as the possible 13 and 14 team, maybe within 3 years sort of a team? Because I don't know, how much.
Okay, let's
I don't
put
know if they're
them in
ready off the front.
Let's just put them together the way that I did there, DCFC and Oak, just as placeholders here, because we got to get to 12. We got to get to 12. You want to nominate? Nominate.
All right, so nominate. They're new to the scene, but it seems like they are progressing. Rhode Island FC.
Okay, I wondered if this was going to come up. So you want to throw Rhode Island, Pravi, in the mix? Okay, I'm not against it. Made a final in their first year, so kind of hard to argue that they haven't done something on the field at least that maybe merits inclusion in a top division.
All right, for moving on again, Colorado Springs. Perhaps the Switchbacks are in there. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Again, champions, right? So feel like a team that belongs just on merit on the field. They've built their stadium. It's not real big. They would have to expand that stadium a lot. I think. Again, we're going to kind of run into this on a regular basis as we talk about these teams. They just don't have the stadiums to meet the criteria for PLS. If there are waivers given. Okay, I'll give you Colorado Springs. So what are we up to now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 4 spots left that we need to fill. Are we running out of obvious? I mean, North Carolina FC out of Raleigh, right? We've got Birmingham Legion out of Birmingham, Alabama. They play in a big football stadium, so they would meet the stadium requirement. I don't know that jumps off as a first division market for some people. Again, I threw out Vegas. They're not in here yet. We haven't included them yet.
Let's
Robert,
do Vegas. Let's do Vegas.
Put Vegas
I like
in.
that. The Las Vegas Lights, great marketing. They're not competing with an MLS team. They're in a big-ish city. They've done well at their level so far. Not necessarily success on the field, but I think they would be an entertaining addition to a new league. And then if this has come up a couple times, I've seen folks asking us if the Cosmos will ever come back, and if they do, will it be in this league?
Oh, it's possible. I mean, they have a stadium issue that they would have to deal with. I mean, that's the thing. We could go a little speculative here, and there are even the Buffalo team is coming in, and I'm looking at the expansion page for the USL Championship. You've got Brooklyn FC that's supposed to launch at some point in the near future. You got the Jacksonville team. They are on here. I think the Brooklyn team is represented. You can see the B there in the little inset. So you got the Brooklyn team, you got the Jacksonville team, you got Santa Barbara Sky. They're also here in that inset down there in Southern California. I don't think they're going to rate. Milwaukee is supposed to come in at some point. Obviously, we haven't mentioned Madison, although I'm not sure that feels like a first division kind of town, even if maybe they've been very great with their marketing. Ozark United, Buffalo, as I mentioned. Dallas is supposed to be putting a team together. Those expansion teams that are kind of on paper, I guess we could include those and ponder their inclusion. But I don't want to go with like, oh, are the Cosmos coming back and could they be a USL team? When, I have no way to predict what Rocco Commisso might do or whether he wants to be involved in somebody else's league after what he went through.
So to put a bow on this, we are at 9 teams that we are pretty confident in, and then we have 2 alternates, and then you'd think by the time this league comes online, there'll be 2 expansion teams. So I feel comfortable if we picked one more team and as our locked in 10.
Okay, so so you're saying we got to put Detroit City and Oakland in here then, in order to get to the 12. Like I want this to be 12, Robert. I won't. My OCD will not be satisfied.
You won't be good with 10 with 2 possibles and 2 future considerations.
No, that's a job incomplete. What are you talking about right now? So I'm doing. Again. I know. The professional spending levels are definitely a thing. Again, stadium in Detroit, some other stuff. Oakland, maybe it's a little bit of a leap, but I'm putting them in because again, you got a couple of big markets, and definitely that's something that this league is going to need.
All right, so we're at 11 here for our initial 12-team rollout without possible future expansions. So we are picking one more team be in our hypothetical.
Who gets in?
Division 1. So
I will. Let me throw this out there. There's a new Oklahoma effort, even though I think this map has Oklahoma City Energy. They're not playing right now. Just to throw that out there. My brain is. Pittsburgh's been mentioned in the chat. See, that's a pretty sizable market. They've got a nice little stadium, but it's a little stadium. I think, if you're talking about the financial health of the club, it's hard to put the Richmond Kickers into this division, even though I would love to see them. They obviously, relegated themselves at various points. And North Carolina, I mentioned North Carolina. Somebody said we should have a Carolina team. So do we need a Carolina team here? There are options, just none of them are obvious candidates, I don't think.
Yeah, that probably speaks to the work yet to be done by clubs and this league to flush it out and make it, deep with good teams. If we're going to pick a 12th one now, should we go middle of the country or East Coast? Because I'm thinking Carolina or maybe a Tulsa, and then this might be a weird one, Miami FC.
I don't think Miami FC, man, maybe. Okay. If we're going to have a question over Detroit, then maybe what we do is we put Miami in here, even though I have lots of concerns about that team and sort of how important they are, not just in Miami, but to their owner these days. Mm-hmm. And then, okay, so we've got Rhode Island in here. I guess that's about as much of the Northeast as we need. Hartford's an interesting one. They've been poorly run in terms of their on-field product, so they don't really deserve an opportunity to be first division based on that. I can't. Okay, I'm gonna put North Carolina in here. I'm gonna. That's pretty sizable market. I don't know exactly the size of that Raleigh market, but pretty sizable market. Probably meets the criteria for D1. And then
so
we got
there
Miami.
It is. There is our rough draft. Our first draft. We could come back to this. Our first draft of the USL Premier is Louisville, Phoenix, Sacramento, Tampa, San Antonio, Indy, Rhode Island, Colorado Springs, Las Vegas, Oakland, Miami, North Carolina. Does that seem like a first division lineup just on the face of it with the city names?
It kind of does. It kind of none of those jump out and you go, oh yeah, that's a first division. I mean, look, there's no major sports team in Providence, Rhode Island. There's no major sports team in Louisville, Kentucky, but there are, and Colorado Springs, I guess, also is in that group. But there are major sports teams in all of those other cities, right? All those other cities have one of the big four, at least one. So I think you can, just based on that, it feels like it's kind of a major league in that way. I wonder if anybody in the chat has teams we might be missing who they think deserve a little bit of love. Okay. Pittsburgh snub is utter woke. Not how is it woke? What does that even mean? I don't even know
is Pittsburgh a non-woke city, and so
I have no idea.
Opposition of woke.
I don't look. Okay, if we were going to put Pittsburgh in, which city gets bumped if we put Pittsburgh in?
Which city gets bumped? It would have to be probably Miami or North Carolina.
Okay, Miami or North Carolina. All right, I guess you could argue that. I've seen, there all have been stadium plans in Raleigh. They're not far along, and I think some of it was predicated on the or maybe they're moving along. I don't know exactly where they are, but some of them were predicated on MLS coming to town, which obviously didn't happen. So I don't know. Pittsburgh. Okay, if we throw in Pittsburgh to make Urias Tosh happy, then I think I would pull. I hate to say it, I'd pull Colorado Springs. I think if I put Pittsburgh in. Again, Colorado Springs is the champion of the USL Championship. They feel like they deserve to move up in terms of on field. But if we're just talking about cities, it's Pittsburgh. Now, if we're talking about merit, it's a completely different question. Like merit in terms of on field product, that's a different question.
Completely different.
And then maybe Las Vegas gets bumped. I mean, they played the playoffs last year, but maybe they get bumped. Miami was bad last season, right? Or they're bad now. I'm not sure where they are. We're getting ready for the new season in the USL, but I think they were bad last season, so they probably don't deserve it. Okay, this is what comments are made for, right? For people to disagree with us.
A couple other shouts before we go. Union Omaha, they've been good on the field. Small town, but, if it's a merit-based system, perhaps they move up. And then Chattanooga FC, we wouldn't include them in this just because they are a MLS Next Pro team and not currently within the USL setup. I mean, they would be a great team.
Let me just clarify that I would just love for this league to be populated by teams who earn the right to be in this league. Yeah. Like this, we're picking markets because there are PLS standards, and I think there's a perception thing that USL has to deal with when they get to the first division launching. But if we're just talking like as a soccer guy, of course I want it to be you win your way, you earn your way into the first division. So and there are some cities that you would hope have that opportunity. Union Omaha, League One. We didn't have any League One teams, right? We didn't have any League One cities included in our 12. All of those were USL Championship cities, right? But you could say Union Omaha maybe deserves a little bit of love. I think I mentioned Richmond. Who else is League Madison? We didn't really consider Ford Madison as a possibility, but they're there, right? And they've done really good stuff to create a community environment and market their teams in ways that make them stand out.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. And if you want to keep this conversation going, hit us up in the comments. What teams do you want to see? What cities would you be excited to see in the USL Premier, the proposed first division league in USL's setup? Thank you for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button in Morning Kick Round. Currently at 994 as we finish up the show today. So by the time we come back on Friday, could be hopefully over that 1,000 subscriber mark.
Wait, hold on. We lost a subscriber during the show? Oh man, that
it must
hurts.
Have been the Cosmos fan. It must have been the Cosmos fan.
Maybe that's utter woke nonsense, I guess, is what that is.
Follow us on social media at MKickAround on the X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Write us a note, morningkickaround@gmail.com, or donate to the show with some dollars. You can do it at ko-fi.com/morningkickaround. Fun show, ran a little long, but the conversation continues. And I guess best wishes to the women tonight as they look for their She Believes Championship. We'll talk about that and more on Friday morning when we return. Until then, everybody, please enjoy your soccer.